Have you ever paused to realize the profound decisions you're making every single day? Each silent choice you embrace shapes the very person you become. But here's what most people don't understand. There's one moment, a single defining instant that determines whether you rise or remain stagnant. There's a sacred space between impulse and action where your entire future hangs in the balance. Today, you'll discover the transformative power of discipline, how tiny habits ignite immense transformation, and most importantly, how to recognize and master the moment that decides who you become. This isn't just another self-help message. This is the key to unlocking the person you've always known you could be. Every morning you awaken, you stand at the edge of infinite possibility. The air is thick with potential, pregnant with the promise of transformation. It's not always dramatic. In fact, it rarely is. The most life-changing moments often whisper rather than shout, arrive quietly rather than with fanfare. Will you hit snooze and surrender another day to mediocrity? Or will you rise with unwavering purpose? Will you scroll endlessly through digital distractions, feeding your mind junk food? Or will you set crystal clear intentions that align with your deepest values? Each small action, and I mean every single one, either strengthens your inner resolve like steel forged in fire, or gently yet persistently erodes the foundation of who you're meant to become. It's happening right now as you listen to these words. You're either moving toward your highest potential or drifting away from it. There's no neutral ground in the game of life. But there's something profoundly deeper happening here, something that 99% of people never recognize, never harness, never even see. Between the moment you become aware of a choice and the moment you act on it exists a sacred space, a brief, incredibly powerful instant where your entire future pivots on a single decision. This is the moment that decides who you become. Think about it. Every habit you've ever formed, every pattern you've ever broken, every transformation you've ever experienced, it all started in this moment. The moment between knowing and doing, the moment between feeling and acting, the moment between who you've been and who you're becoming. We rarely see discipline as an act of quiet courage, yet it's exactly that, a brave commitment to becoming someone stronger, clearer, more resilient than you were yesterday. Most people think discipline is punishment, restriction, a prison of their own making. But I want you to flip that script entirely. Think of discipline not as limitation, but as the ultimate expression of self-love, one tiny step at a time. Think of it as freedom, the freedom to become who you choose to be, rather than who your circumstances dictate. In every quiet moment, in every silent decision, in every seemingly insignificant choice, you are actively sculpting your destiny with the chisel of choice and the hammer of habit. Furthermore, discipline is not about perfection, and this is where most people get it wrong. It's not about never failing, never stumbling, never having moments of weakness. Discipline is about progression, not perfection. It's about getting back up faster each time you fall. It's about learning to see setbacks as setups for comebacks. The difference between those who achieve their dreams and those who merely dream about achieving them is found in these microscopic moments of decision, these seemingly insignificant choices that compound over time into extraordinary outcomes. Today, you'll embark on a journey through the profound landscape of personal transformation. You'll understand how discipline, when carefully nurtured and consistently applied like water on stone, becomes your strongest ally in personal growth. More importantly, you'll learn to recognize, harness, and master the moment that decides who you become. By the end of this journey, you'll have a blueprint for transformation that works not just in theory, but in the messy, beautiful reality of daily life. Contemplate the intricate spiral of daily choices as echoes reflecting back at you through the corridors of time. These are not grand gestures that shake the earth or make headlines. They are whispers of habit. Each decision, each small moment accumulating tremendous power over weeks, months, and years, like compound interest in a bank account. Your identity is not fixed. This is the first revolutionary truth you must accept. It's not written in stone, carved by genetics, or determined by your past. Your identity is fluid, constantly being written and rewritten by the pen of your choices. Every single day, you are either becoming more of who you want to be or less of who you aspire to become. There is no neutral ground, no pause button on personal development, no timeout from the game of becoming. You are always moving in one direction or another, always becoming more or less of something. Here's what most people don't realize. You are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings, you are not your past, and you are not your circumstances. You are the sum total of your responses to life. You are the collection of choices you make when nobody is watching. You are the habits you maintain when motivation has long since abandoned you. Let me ask you something personal. What was the last choice you made today when you were alone? Did it bring you closer to who you want to be, or did it pull you further away? Imagine your habits as tiny seeds planted each day in the fertile soil of your consciousness. When watered consistently with intention, commitment, and yes, even love, they become mighty forests of confidence, health, clarity, and purpose. A daily meditation, even just 5 minutes of stillness in a chaotic world, becomes a sanctuary of peace that radiates throughout your entire day. A simple morning stretch transforms into a sacred ritual of self-care that honors the body that carries you through life. Reading, instead of endless scrolling, evolves into a powerful practice of continuous learning and growth that expands your mind and enriches your soul. Let me tell you about Maria. She wanted to become a writer, but the thought of writing a novel overwhelmed her completely. So she made a deal with herself. Write just 1 sentence per day. Just one. Her inner critic laughed at her, saying it was pointless, but she persisted. That single sentence became a paragraph, then a page, then a chapter. 2 years later, Maria wasn't trying to be a writer anymore. She was a writer. The transformation didn't happen in one grand gesture, but in the quiet consistency of 1 sentence at a time. These small acts, seemingly insignificant when viewed in isolation, form the deep roots of who you aspire to become. They create the infrastructure of excellence, the foundation upon which extraordinary achievements are built. They are the invisible force that transform ordinary people into extraordinary ones. But here's the key insight. These habits don't just change what you do, they change who you are. They literally rewire your brain, creating new neural pathways that make better choices easier and automatic. When you meditate daily, you don't just become someone who meditates, you become someone who is calm, centered, and resilient. When you exercise regularly, you don't just become someone who works out, you become someone who values health, embraces challenge, and follows through on commitments. The compound effect of these small choices creates momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable and the force of transformation. Now, I want you to pause and reflect deeply, honestly, courageously. What silent choices do you repeatedly make? Are they guiding you toward your envisioned self? Or are they quietly, subtly, persistently leading you away from your highest potential? This question requires brutal honesty because self-deception is the silent killer of dreams. It's the enemy of growth, the poison that destroys potential from within. Most people lie to themselves about their choices. They minimize the impact of negative habits and exaggerate the effect of positive ones. They make excuses, rationalize poor decisions, and convince themselves that just this once won't matter. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every choice matters. Every decision is a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. Consider this powerful framework. Every habit you maintain is a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you cast a vote for someone who is committed, reliable, and strong. Each time you choose delayed gratification over instant pleasure, you vote for someone who values long-term success over short-term satisfaction. Each time you choose the difficult path over the easy one, you vote for someone who prioritizes growth over comfort. Conversely, each time you choose the easy path over the meaningful one, you vote for someone who prioritizes immediate gratification over long-term fulfillment.
Each time you break a promise to yourself, you vote for someone who is unreliable and weak. Each time you choose comfort over growth, you vote for someone who settles for mediocrity.
Think about James. Every morning, his alarm would sound at 6 a.m. Every morning, he would hit snooze. Just 10 more minutes, he'd tell himself. But those 10 minutes became 20, then 30. Each snooze was a vote for someone who couldn't be trusted to keep promises to himself. Until one day, James realized something profound. He wasn't just choosing 10 more minutes of sleep, he was choosing who he wanted to be. The next morning, when that alarm sounded, he sat up immediately, not because he felt like it, but because he wanted to vote for someone reliable. That single choice to get up changed everything. It wasn't about the morning routine, it was about identity. The revolutionary truth that will change your life is this: you don't have to believe you are disciplined to start acting disciplined. You don't need to feel motivated to take motivated action. You don't need to wait till you're ready, because nobody ever feels ready for transformation. You simply need to prove it to yourself through small, consistent actions. Your identity follows your behavior, not the other way around. This is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. They don't wait for permission from their feelings. They don't wait for the perfect moment, the ideal circumstances, or the right mood. They act their way into a new identity. They become what they practice. They are what they repeatedly do. Think about someone you admire, someone who embodies the qualities you want to develop. I guarantee they didn't wake up one day magically transformed. They became who they are through countless small choices, made consistently over time. They voted for excellence so many times that excellence became their default setting. The beautiful truth is that every day you get a fresh ballot. Every morning you can start voting for the person you want to become. Your past votes don't determine your future ones. Your previous choices don't limit your current options. You have the power to change the trajectory of your life starting right now with your very next decision. To build transformative habits that actually stick, you must start impossibly small. This might seem counterintuitive in a world that celebrates dramatic transformations, overnight success stories, and extreme makeovers. Our culture is obsessed with the dramatic, the instant, the spectacular. But the science of behavior change tells us a completely different story. The research is clear. Sustainable change happens through what psychologists call minimum viable habits. These are habits so small, so easy, so achievable that you'd feel silly not doing them. We're talking about committing to just one meaningful act daily. Perhaps journaling 3 sentences about your thoughts, preparing one nutritious meal, reading just 10 pages of an inspiring book, or doing 5 push-ups. Your ego will resist this approach. It will tell you that such small actions are meaningless, that you need to make big changes to see big results. Your ego wants you to commit to working out for 2 hours a day, reading for 3 hours, meditating for an hour. But here's what your ego doesn't understand. It's not about the size of the action, it's about the consistency of the action. Let me share Sarah's story. She wanted to get fit but felt overwhelmed by the idea of hour-long gym sessions. So she started with something laughably small, 1 push-up after brushing her teeth. 1 single push-up. Her friends thought she was crazy. What's the point? They asked. But Sarah understood something they didn't. She wasn't trying to get fit with 1 push-up. She was trying to become the type of person who exercises daily. After 2 weeks, 1 push-up felt automatic, so she added another, then another. 6 months later, Sarah wasn't someone who struggled to exercise. She was someone who couldn't imagine starting her day without movement. The transformation didn't happen because of that first push-up. It happened because of what that push-up represented, a commitment to becoming someone new. The magic of discipline lies not in its intensity, but in its gentle persistence. It's not about the force you apply, but the consistency with which you apply it. Think of water slowly carving through rock, not through violence, not through force, but through unwavering persistence, drop by drop, day by day, year by year, until the impossible becomes inevitable. When you start small, you remove the primary barrier that stops most people before they even begin. overwhelm. You eliminate the friction that kills motivation. You create what behavioral scientists call success momentum. Each small victory builds confidence and makes the next choice easier. This is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. But here's the secret within the secret. Starting small isn't really about the habit itself. It's about proving to yourself that you're the type of person who keeps commitments to themselves. It's about building self-trust, which is the foundation of all lasting change. When you consistently follow through on small promises to yourself, you begin to believe that you can follow through on bigger ones. Every time you complete your minimum viable habit, you're making a deposit in your self-confidence account. Every time you show up for yourself, even in the smallest way, you're strengthening the muscle of discipline. Every time you choose consistency over intensity, you're building the infrastructure of excellence. The key is to make your habits so easy that you can do them even on your worst days, because you will have bad days. You will have days when you're tired, stressed, overwhelmed, or discouraged. On those days, your massive, ambitious habits will be the first casualties, but your tiny, easy habits, those will carry you through. Remember, you're not trying to achieve perfection, you're trying to establish a pattern. You're not trying to transform overnight, you're trying to start a process. You're not trying to become someone else, you're trying to become more of who you already are at your core. Now, we must recognize the transformative power of consistency over intensity. This principle alone will separate you from 90% of people who start strong but fade quickly. Discipline isn't about pushing yourself to the breaking point. It's about showing up every single day, especially, and this is crucial, especially when you don't feel like it. Every day you show up for yourself, even when motivation has completely abandoned you, even when the world feels heavy and your energy is low, even when every fiber of your being wants to quit, you're making a profound declaration of your worth. You're saying, I matter enough to keep my promises to myself. I'm valuable enough to invest in my future. I'm strong enough to do what I said I would do. Here's something most people don't understand about motivation. It's unreliable. Motivation is like the weather. It comes and goes, unpredictable and unreliable. Some days it's sunny and bright, filling you with energy and enthusiasm. Other days it's cloudy and dark, leaving you feeling flat and uninspired. But discipline is like breathing. It happens regardless of how you feel because it's become part of who you are. This is where the real magic happens, in the space between feeling and action, in the gap where character is forged. Anyone can be disciplined when they feel motivated. Anyone can stick to their habits when they're excited and energized. But can you be disciplined when you feel terrible? Can you maintain your habits when life gets difficult? Can you stay committed when nobody else would blame you for quitting? That is where champions are made. That is where transformation happens. That is where ordinary people become extraordinary. Let me tell you about David. He committed to writing for 30 minutes every morning. For the first 2 weeks, he was unstoppable, motivated, excited, full of ideas. Then life hit. His father got sick. Work became overwhelming. He barely slept. On the worst morning, sitting by his father's hospital bed at 6 a.m., exhausted and worried, David opened his laptop and wrote for 30 minutes. Not because he felt like it, not because he was inspired, but because he had made a promise to himself, and keeping that promise was more important than how he felt. That morning, in that hospital room, David didn't just write, he became a writer. He proved to himself that his commitment was stronger than his circumstances. Consistency creates what I call identity momentum. Each consistent action reinforces your new identity. You stop being someone who tries to exercise and become someone who is active. You stop being someone who wants to read more and become someone who is a reader. You stop being someone who hopes to be disciplined
and become someone who is disciplined. This shift in identity is everything. It changes not just what you do, but who you believe yourself to be. And when your identity changes, your behavior follows automatically. You no longer have to force yourself to make good choices. Good choices become the natural expression of who you are. But consistency doesn't mean perfection. This is another place where people get stuck. They think that one missed day ruins everything, that one slip-up means they've failed. This all or nothing thinking is the enemy of progress. Consistency means getting back on track quickly when you fall off. It means treating setbacks as temporary detours rather than permanent failures. The most successful people aren't those who never fail. They're those who fail fast and recover faster. They don't aim for perfection. They aim for progression. They understand that the goal isn't to never fall down, it's to get back up quicker each time you do fall. Think of consistency as a muscle that gets stronger with use. At first, it might be weak and underdeveloped. Showing up consistently might feel difficult, forced, unnatural. But over time, as you exercise this muscle daily, it becomes stronger, more reliable, more automatic. Eventually, consistency becomes your default mode of operation.
Here's something crucial that most self-help advice gets dangerously wrong. Discipline thrives when combined with compassion, not criticism. This might be the most important lesson in this entire message, so please pay close attention. It's essential to speak kindly to yourself on this journey of transformation. The voice in your head will either become your greatest ally or your most destructive enemy. Choose wisely. You're not chasing the impossible standard of perfection. You're embracing the beautiful, messy, imperfect reality of growth. Growth is not linear. It's not neat and tidy. It doesn't follow a straight line from point A to point B. Growth is messy, unpredictable, full of ups and downs, forwards and backwards, victories and setbacks. Self-compassion is not self-indulgence. This is a critical distinction. Self-compassion is not making excuses for poor behavior or lowering your standards. Self-compassion is strategic. When you treat yourself with kindness during setbacks, you bounce back faster. When you practice harsh self-criticism, you create internal resistance that makes change harder, not easier. Research in psychology shows us that self-compassion actually increases motivation, not decreases it. When you're kind to yourself after a mistake, you're more likely to learn from it and less likely to repeat it. When you're harsh and critical, you're more likely to give up entirely or repeat the same mistakes out of shame and self-defeat. Think about how you would treat a good friend who was struggling with the same challenges you're facing. Would you berate them? Would you call them names? Would you tell them they're weak, worthless, or destined to fail? Of course not. You would offer encouragement, understanding, and support. You would remind them that setbacks are part of the process. You would help them see their progress and potential. Why then do you treat yourself worse than you would treat a stranger? Why do you use language with yourself that you would never use with someone else? This internal cruelty is not helping you. It's sabotaging you. Consider Lisa's journey. She started a meditation practice, committed to 10 minutes daily. For the first week, she was perfect. Week 2, she missed a day. Her inner critic unleashed. You're pathetic. You can't even meditate for 10 minutes. You'll never change. Lisa almost quit. But then she caught herself. She imagined what she would say to her best friend in the same situation. She would say, "Hey, you meditated 6 out of 7 days. That's amazing progress. Tomorrow is a fresh start." So she said that to herself instead. This simple shift in self-talk changed everything. She stopped fighting against herself and started working with herself. Each moment of awareness, even when you notice you've fallen off track, is a victory worth celebrating. Every small victory, no matter how insignificant it might seem, deserves acknowledgement. Every gentle return to your path after a stumble demonstrates strength, not weakness. All of these moments reinforce your strength and build unshakable self-trust. You're learning to rely on yourself completely. You're learning to keep promises to yourself consistently. You're learning to become your own best friend and strongest supporter. This relationship with yourself is the foundation of all other success in your life.
The beautiful paradox of self-compassion is that the more accepting you become of your imperfections, the more naturally you begin to improve. When you stop fighting against yourself, you free up enormous energy to focus on moving forward. When you stop being your own worst enemy, you can become your own greatest champion.
Your transformation through discipline isn't always visible at first. In fact, it rarely is. Like an iceberg, where 90% of the mass is hidden beneath the surface, the most powerful changes occur beneath the surface of your conscious awareness, invisible to the casual observer, but profound in their impact. You're rewiring your brain with every disciplined choice. Neuroscience shows us that our brains are constantly changing, constantly adapting, constantly creating new neural pathways based on our repeated thoughts and actions. When you choose discipline over comfort repeatedly, you're literally creating new neural highways that make discipline easier and more automatic. You're anchoring yourself into a new reality where your aspirations become inevitable outcomes rather than hopeful possibilities. You're shifting from someone who hopes things will work out to someone who makes things work out. You're transforming from someone who waits for opportunities to someone who creates opportunities. This hidden transformation is perhaps the most profound aspect of disciplined living. While others see only your external changes, the improved health, the clearer focus, the increased productivity, the better relationships, you experience something far more valuable. You begin to trust yourself completely. You develop what I call self-reliance confidence, the deep, unshakable knowing that whatever challenges life presents, you have the discipline, the character, and the resilience to handle them. This confidence doesn't come from external validation or achievements. It comes from the internal knowing that you can count on yourself to do what you say you'll do. Your relationship with difficulty changes entirely. Instead of avoiding challenges, you begin to welcome them as opportunities to strengthen your disciplinary muscle. Problems become puzzles to solve rather than disasters to endure. Obstacles become stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Setbacks become setups for comebacks. But the transformation doesn't stop with you. Your disciplined choices create ripples that extend far beyond your personal life, touching every person you encounter and every situation you enter. When you commit to excellence in small things, you inspire others to do the same without saying a word. Your children watch and learn what it means to be committed, what it looks like to follow through, what it means to be reliable. They don't just hear your words about discipline and character, they see them lived out daily. Your colleagues witness what consistency looks like in action. They observe someone who does what they say they'll do, who maintains their standards regardless of circumstances, who approaches each day with intention and purpose. Your friends see what's possible when someone decides to take their life seriously, when someone stops making excuses and starts making progress. They witness the transformation that happens when someone aligns their daily actions with their deepest values. You become a living example of what's possible when someone decides to bridge the gap between who they are and who they want to become. This is not about perfection, it's about progression. It's about showing up, doing the work, and trusting the process even when you can't see the results yet. The ripple effect of your disciplined life touches people you may never even know about. Someone watches how you handle stress and learns that they can too. Someone sees your commitment to growth and realizes they don't have to stay stuck. Someone witnesses your resilience after setbacks and finds the courage to try again after their own failures. Your discipline becomes a gift not just to your future self, but to everyone's life you touch. This is the ultimate purpose of personal development, not just to improve your own life, but to become someone who makes life better for others simply by being who you are. Now, let's talk about the moment that decides who you become. This moment occurs dozens of times each day, perhaps hundreds. Yet most people miss it entirely. They sleepwalk through these crucial decision points, operating on autopilot, letting their unconscious patterns determine their futures. The moment is the split second between impulse and action, between feeling and behavior, between who you've been and who you're becoming. It's the sacred space where free will lives, where choice happens, where transformation begins. This moment might arrive when your alarm sounds in the morning and you feel the pull to hit snooze. It might come when you're standing in front of the refrigerator, deciding what to eat. It could appear when you're choosing between social media and meaningful work, between criticism and encouragement, between giving up and pushing through just a little bit longer. In this moment, you have complete power. Your past doesn't dictate your choice. Your circumstances don't control your decision. Your feelings don't determine your action. Your habits don't have to win. In this sacred space, you are absolutely free to choose who you want to become. The key is awareness. You must learn to recognize these moments when they arrive. They don't announce themselves with fanfare. They whisper. They don't demand attention. They offer it quietly. But once you develop the sensitivity to notice them, you realize they're everywhere, offering you countless opportunities throughout each day to become more of who you want to be. This is where meditation, mindfulness, and self-reflection become invaluable. These practices don't just make you calmer or more peaceful, they make you more aware. They help you catch the moment before it passes. They give you the space between stimulus and response, where freedom lives. When you recognize the moment, you can make a conscious choice instead of an automatic reaction. You can choose based on your values instead of your impulses. You can choose based on who you want to become instead of who you've been. The practice of intentional living. Let these quiet choices echo your true self. Listen closely, not to the voice of comfort or convenience, but to the voice of your highest potential. This voice speaks softly, but it speaks clearly. It knows what you're capable of, even when you don't feel capable. It sees your potential, even when you can't see it yourself. Trust your deepest intuition, the part of you that knows what you need to do, even when you don't want to do it. This intuition isn't loud or demanding. It doesn't shout or insist. It whispers truth in quiet moments. It nudges you to growth when everything else pulls you toward comfort. Cultivate the discipline that transforms subtle habits into your profound destiny. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you already are at your core. It's about alignment between your deepest values and your daily actions. It's about closing the gap between who you are and who you want to be. The daily revolution. Every morning offers you a fresh start, a clean slate, a new opportunity to make choices that honor your potential. Yesterday's choices don't determine today's options. Last week's failures don't limit this week's possibilities. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. You don't have to be extraordinary. You just have to be committed. This is your quiet revolution, happening one choice at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time. While the world chases dramatic transformations and instant results, you're building something deeper, something more sustainable, something more powerful. You're building character. You're building integrity. You're building a life that you can be proud of, not just in the big moments, but in the small ones. Not just when others are watching, but when no one is around. Not just when you feel like it, but especially when you don't. As we conclude this transformative journey together, remember this fundamental truth that will change everything if you let it. Your future self is shaped not by grand leaps, but by countless, silent, courageous choices made daily. You hold the absolute power to become who you dream to be, starting right now, in this very moment. The person you become is not determined by your circumstances, but by your responses to those circumstances. It's not determined by what happens to you, but by what you choose to do with what happens to you. It's not determined by where you came from, but where you decide to go. Embrace the silence between stimulus and response. This is where your power lives. This is where transformation happens. This is where ordinary people become extraordinary. Choose intentionally, not impulsively. Choose based on your values, not your feelings. Choose based on who you want to become, not who you've been. And witness the extraordinary beauty of your disciplined journey unfold, one moment, one choice, one day at a time.
The moment that decides who you become is not in the past, it's right now. It's in the next choice you make, the next habit you build, the next time you choose growth over comfort, courage over fear, action over excuses. Your transformation starts now. Your discipline begins today. Your future is being written in this very moment with the pen of choice and the ink of action. What will you choose? Who will you become? The answer is entirely up to you.
Your heart resonated with today's message. If you felt the power of these truths coursing through your veins, subscribe and continue this life-changing journey. Your future self is counting on you to take this next step.